Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr President. As a servant to the people of Queensland and Australia, my question is to the Minister for Agriculture through his representative in the Senate, Senator McKenzie. In 1996, the Liberal Party under John Howard decided to destroy farmers' property rights. It did so with the National Party's support. The two parties introduced draconian tree-clearing laws aimed to get Australia's compliance with the UN's Kyoto Protocol. The UN's Kyoto Protocol was an earlier version of the UN's Paris Agreement, designed to reduce the output of harmless human carbon dioxide. The human Liberal Nationals government was unwilling to artificially increase the price of energy to cut industrial CO2 output through climate regulations, so instead decided to remove the rights of farmers to manage their own land. Senator, does the National Party still support the Howard Liberal Nationals' decision to remove farmers' property rights?
The Minister for Agriculture, Senator McKenzie.
Thank you very much, Mr President. And the National Party stands with Australian farmers to support their property rights, and we're very proud to be able to do that, both at a state level, as is being indicated by many LNP, state members of parliament in your home state of Queensland, Senator Roberts, who are fighting against the native vegetation legislation that the Palaszczuk government seems so intent on sticking with, and the impact it's having on the primary producers in your home state. It was quite a long preamble. There was a lot in there. I'm very happy to outline our government's approach to climate change and the impacts on agriculture. I'm very happy to outline how energy costs affect our primary producers and our food processing sector, which you know employs hundreds of thousands of Australians, predominantly in rural and regional Australia. But if the essence of your question is, does the National Party stand with our Australian farmers to protect their property rights? Yes, we do.
Senator Roberts, supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President. That's very interesting from the Senator, because to get around section 51, paragraph 31 of the Australian Constitution, that requires just terms compensation, John Howard, with the support of Queensland Nationals Premier Rob Borbidge and New South Wales Labor Premier Bob Carr, introduced legislated theft of farmers' property rights using the guise of native vegetation protection legislation, and these laws stole farmers' property rights. Senator, do you support the removal of farmers' property rights without just terms compensation?
Order. Senator Bernardi.
Mr President, as it's directly relevant to the question, could we add a happy birthday to the former Prime Minister John Howard as well?
Senator Bernardi. Senator McKenzie.
Still trying to get back to the Liberal Party, Corey?
Yeah. Well, and on that point of order, Mr President, obviously the National Party would like to say happy birthday to the former Prime Minister Howard as well, and thank you for raising it. Look, I can't be clearer, Senator Roberts, that our party, and indeed our government, supports farmers' right to farm. It's actually why we're introducing the Criminal Code Amendment on agricultural production to ensure that farmers aren't going to be subjected to agri-terrorists and agri-activists seeking to go on farm and disrupt people's lawful way of doing business. Our state members of parliament, I know, have been very strong and in prosecuting the case against the native vegetation legislation arrangements in your home state of Queensland, and they will continue to do so.
Senator Roberts, final supplementary question.
Senator, whether it is the UN's Kyoto Protocol, the UN's Paris Agreement, the UN's Lima Declaration, the UN's Rio Declaration for 21st Century Global Governance, whether it is open borders, immigration treaties, anti-Western human rights obligations and many other voluntary obligations to the UN, why does the Liberal National Coalition join with Labor and the Greens to continue to put the agenda of the Socialist United Nations ahead of the sovereignty, rights and freedoms of Australians?
Senator McKenzie.
Thank you, Mr President. You know, one of the aspects of the United Nations regime is the setting up the Food and Agricultural Organisation in Rome, who actually sees its role to unite agricultural producing nations like Australia from around the world to tackle hunger and food security of nations right around the world, and using science to actually do that. It's a fantastic example of countries working together, like Australia, to use our expertise in primary production, use our expertise in science and innovation in this space to contribute to global hunger. So I'm very proud of our government's commitment to always pursue the national interest.
Senator Hanson, on a point of order.
On a point of order, I don't think the question's been answered correctly, and I suggest that the minister take the question on notice because she doesn't clearly understand the difference between.
Senator Hanson, please resume your seat. You haven't raised the question. I can't direct the minister how to answer a question. If you're raising a point of order on direct relevance, you are free to, but I can't direct the minister how to answer the question. It was very broadly worded, and I think the minister is being in order in the way she's addressing it. Senator McKenzie.
Thank you, Mr President. So, in answer to your question, our government always acts in the national interest, and we make no apologies for doing so.
Senator Davey.